I read well over 1,000 books, and my net worth is over $10 million. This is Dan Pena, who was my first mentor, and as you can see, that's me right there, and this is his castle actually. That was in Scotland about 10 years ago now. The reason I made this video is because one of my really good friends asked me, Matt, how do I make a lot of money? So I recorded this and I want him to watch this. And at the same time, I get a video out on my YouTube channel. In this video, I will explain exactly how to get rich or richer as fast as possible. And really the only reason, and this is really the only reason, I seriously, actually, literally mean this. The only reason why you are not making the money that you want to make is because you simply don't know how. Now you can say, oh, but I already know how. I just don't have the motivation to do it, or I just can't work hard enough. That's right, you don't know how to work hard enough. You don't know how to motivate yourself. You don't know. If you already knew, you would be doing it. You just don't know how to do it in a way that you want to do it. So in the end, it's because you don't know. So let me share a few things that many of you may not know. This took me a while to really understand on a deep level. The most important thing when it comes to making money, and this is by far the most important thing, is just one thing. And that's supposedly focusing on one thing. There's this pretty good book actually by Gary Keller, The One Thing. I highly recommend it, but it misses a huge point. You see, making money is not all that simple. I once made a list of every single thing that I thought was important for me to make money, and I made a list of about 400 things. That is not just one thing. However, the most important thing for you to make money is going to be something that is going to be just one thing, and that is going to be very different for each and every one of you. For the longest time, I looked, oh, what is the most important thing? It's gotta be focus. It has to be selling. It has to be being able to speak well. Oh, it's all about bringing in the sales. It's about working extremely hard, like 6 days, 7 days per week, every single week. But you see, making a lot of money, getting rich is a lot like building a car. You mean to tell me that the most important thing is, let's say, the engine? Okay, I can build you an engine, but if you don't have any wheels and there's no roof and there are no doors, there's no steering wheel, there's no floor in that car, you mean to tell me that's going to be the next most important thing to build a car? No, there are obviously some things that are more important than other things, but if you are like this dude with this car, the most important thing is just replacing this tire. So sometimes it is obvious what is the next most important thing. Sometimes it is not. But if you're going through a car assembly line, it has a natural order of things. Okay, you first do this, then you put in this, then you put in that, then you put in that, and then you paint the vehicle, then you put in this, and then finally, let's say we put on the wheels, we put on all the nice little things inside, and the car is finally done. And for example, if you go on a journey of, let's say, 100 steps, which step is going to be the most important step? Well, some people will say the first step. Okay, after the first step, what is going to be the most important step? The second step. After the first two steps, which step is going to be the most important one? The third step, and then the fourth and the fifth. Every single step is important. Otherwise, it's not going to be a 100-step journey. Making money is a lot like that. Get it out of your head, get it out of your system that is just about one thing. It's always about what is the next most important thing. Okay, you did that, then you look for what is the next most important thing. It never ends. Or you want to build a house of cards, like an actual house of cards. Which cards are going to be the most important ones? Well, most people will say, okay, the cards at the bottom. But if you only have the bottom, it's not really going to be a house of cards. It will just be, I don't know, cards. If you're learning English, let's say, which letter is the most important letter? Well, you have to know all of them, right? So let's start with the basics. You need to pick your focus, and you want to make sure it is scalable. By scalable, all I mean is that eventually you can make the amount of money that you want to make. If you pick, let's say, you want to be a nurse, let's say, okay, how much money do nurses make? Is that enough for you? If not, then you got to pick something else. Unless you are doing that to eventually build your own hospital, and right now you're just building up your experience, then it's all good. but you pick your focus and you make sure that it is scalable, that eventually you can make the amount of money that you want. And then you want to start really niche because that's how you can get started really fast. Let's say you want to start a hospital. Okay, you just go work as a janitor first, and then you talk to doctors, and then you ask them, which school do I go to? Is this a better school? Which hospital should I go to later? Which medical specialty is actually better? They will tell you everything. So the more niche you start, the faster you can actually get started. When I first started making YouTube videos, I did not start making daily news videos. I just made videos pretty much only about full self-driving. That's all. It's difficult to get more niche than that with Tesla stock. And then this is key, and so many people just don't get it. Success ignites like a match. Here's what most people do. Okay, I'm gonna try a little bit, I'm gonna work a few hours, and nothing happens. No success actually ignites. And they keep trying. And they work 2 hours a day, 6 hours a day, let's say maybe even 8 hours a day, depends on the field that you chose, and nothing actually happens. But if you actually try really hard, even just for a short period of time, you know what actually happens then? If you just nail it, just a little bit harder, just snap it, you have fire. Basically, your success actually will be ignited. If you want to get rich, and you want to get rich as fast as humanly possible, then you want to really focus and you really want to give it your all for at least a short period of time. Let me give you a few examples. If you, let's say, just work, let's say a regular job, and you just do the regular, let's say, 40 hours a week, and yeah, you're just like everyone else. But then one week, let's say you decide, okay, I'm gonna work every single day. This week, I'm gonna be the first one in the office. I'm gonna be the last one to leave. I'm going to study during the weekend as well. I will make sure that I'm available. I will make sure that if I can come into the office and make sure that everyone sees that I'm working, I'm gonna do that. All of a sudden, the manager above you, your co-workers, your boss will be like, oh, this guy actually works. This guy actually works. You know what? There's a promotion that's available for someone. We need to promote someone. And this guy, he's a hard worker. Maybe we should give him a chance. Or let's say you are the boss and you own a company and you work this much harder. You know what that's going to do to all of your employees? Oh, I'm not working hard enough. This guy works so hard. I don't know. Maybe I should work a little harder too. I feel embarrassed when I leave so early. I'm not saying work 7 days a week for the rest of your life. No, what I'm saying is if you just put in the work, a crazy amount of work at first for some period of time, you will have built so much momentum that everything else would just come so much easier. And really, if you are planning to be as lazy as possible, actually in the long term, it actually makes so much more sense to just hustle and work insane hours for, let's say, a year or 2 years or longer. Just do 7 days a week for a year or 6 months or 3 months. Do that and try not getting a promotion. I dare you to try that and not make more money. One of the employees actually not too long ago, when I first hired that person, I didn't really know what to expect, but then that person was available 7 days a week pretty much, and that person worked really hard, and then I actually promoted that person to a manager. And it's not like that person needs to work 7 days a week now. No, that person just showed initiative and I promoted that person. It works. This is a knowledge bomb. This one, I read over 1,000 books about money, finance, making more money, getting rich, etc., etc., etc. And I haven't really quite seen this. You need to overlearn. Okay, let's say you want to make $1 million. You know what you really need to do? You want to learn how to make 10 million. You want to make 10 million? Learn how to make 100. You want to make 100? Learn how to make 1 billion. When I was in, I think, maybe grade 5, something like that. And I was a straight A student. I was #1 in my class. And I had a really good friend who was about maybe 5 or 6 years older than me, but he was a terrible student. He would be getting D's and F's. He would skip class. He was terrible. And I was doing my homework, actually. I was at his house. And I couldn't figure out this math problem. And I was really good at math. Not only was I #1 in my class, but actually, I think a year later, I think it was a year or maybe 2 years later, I went to National Math Olympics, and I was in the top 20 in the country. It's a small country, but still, I was really good. And I couldn't figure out this problem. I was getting really frustrated. I couldn't figure it out. This friend of mine, who gets straight F's, math is one of his worst subjects. He comes to me, and he's like, oh, we just do this. Try this, it will work. And it did. I was like, how do you know? You're such a bad student. And that's simply because he just learned everything ahead, basically. This hack is really like, imagine you play basketball. And let's say you're like 12 years old, you're a little kid. And you're competing against other 12-year-olds, and it's really difficult because maybe you're not all that good. But then, let's say, now you're 25 and you have grown up, so you're really tall. And then you go play with these same 12-year-olds, and you're much taller, and maybe you learn just a little bit more. Now it's going to be easy. You're going to devour, you're going to destroy them. You don't even need to be good. You just need to be ahead. So when you overlearn, when you learn things way ahead than what you need, you'll basically be getting way ahead of everyone else. It will be like you're playing and competing against kids. So however much money you want to make, learn as if you want to make double, triple, ideally 10x that, and you will get to that goal so much faster. It's not necessarily that you need to do anything differently when you're actually trying to go for your goal. You just need to learn a lot more. Overlearn. Now this thing alone, if you just implement this one little thing here, this will make you ridiculously rich if you do this one right. You want to learn from the best sources to learn are not necessarily books or videos on YouTube that everyone can access and watch. These are good, these are fine. But I'm talking about things that will actually make a big difference to you in your life. You want to learn from private sources or small events and small communities. For example, I once went to an event that actually cost me about $20,000. There were only about 20 people in there. And I met this one guy that made about, I think he said $100 million. $100 million in the previous 10 years at the time. And there's one thing that I was struggling with. And I asked him a few questions. And he happened to be familiar with what I was doing. And I told him if I could just solve this problem, which at the time seemed, it was impossible for me to solve. But I said, if I could solve this problem, everything is just so much easier. And he explained what I could do, and then that actually ended up making hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's no book I could have read about it. There's no YouTube video I could have watched about it. There's no big seminar I could have gone to implement or to learn that thing. It was all about because I learned from a relatively private source. Because when you go on, I really like YouTube, but the problem is there's a limit of what people can say or what they are willing to share. I'll give you an example. Before you go into a business, try to make a few maybe connections in that business. See if you know anyone in that business. There are some businesses actually where if you want to actually make money, and this does not really apply all that often in the US, but there are cases like that even in the US and in Canada, where if you go into a business that just has more gray area in the business than other businesses, so it's harder to make money. But there are some people that are just willing to break some rules to make more money. So that's your competition. But there are so many businesses that are not like that. And speaking of these industries and businesses that have gray areas, an obvious example would be a strip club. Yet I strongly suggest that you don't go into any businesses like that ever. You would be surprised how many shenanigans happen in some businesses. So before you go into a business or an industry, go talk to someone in private and ask questions about what are the shenanigans in this industry, in this business. Every industry has some, but some have a lot more. And to find out about the shenanigans, you will usually need to talk to someone in private because it's not public information. So when you are learning, you want to learn from the most private sources. If you can't do that, if that's too expensive, learn from the smallest events possible or from the smallest communities possible, because people will just be so much more honest. Oh yeah, here in this business, we just lie basically. If you don't want to lie, don't go into that business. For example, you want to be ethical and don't lie and don't break any rules, probably going into car dealerships is not the thing for you. I mean, they're going to go away anyway, right? Tesla's going to take over. This one is absolutely crucial. I can tell with relative accuracy how successful you're going to be just by asking you this one question. What's your time horizon? When you think about making money, a lot of money if you want to get rich, what's your time horizon? 1 year? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? If you tell me that your time horizon is 20 years, it's going to be difficult for you not to get rich. The longer your time horizon is and the further you can plan out ahead, the more successful you're going to be. This is just such a simple, quick hack. It can be difficult to know what you want to do for the next, let's say, 30 years, but if you do know what you want to do for the next 30 years, I'm just saying, you'll just make a lot more money probably. Because you can plan your life and organize it in a way where you will build it out, where everything will just be so much more easier. I'll give you a very quick example. Let's say for the first 5-10 years, you do random jobs. Maybe you get educated to be, let's say, a lawyer, and then you change your mind and you decide to go into the entertainment industry. Let's say you want to be a YouTuber or something, or an actor eventually. Okay, well, if you planned ahead much further, and you know, okay, I want to be in the entertainment industry for the next 30 years, then one obvious sort of thing for you to do is to be in a place where entertainment is all over you, speaking of the industry. So probably if you move, for example, to LA or any other place where you will meet a lot of people in the industry, that alone will just make everything so much simpler. So if you don't know what you're going to do for the next 3, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, I suggest that you sit down and you try to figure that out, because that will make your life so much more easier. You will make so much more money without really trying hard at all. If you are not rich yet, and if you are making any less than $10,000 per month, I would highly suggest that you follow this. First, just learn from one person as much as you can. It doesn't really matter who you pick, as long as they're relatively successful, ideally. You pick them, and then as long as you think that you can model them for the most part, you just try to learn every single thing that you can from them. Because I'm going to tell you something, and I really want you to try to understand what I'm about to say. For example, labas, you are dabar очень susitelkęs. Šešė. I just said you are very focused right now. Thank you. I said that in 4 different languages: Lithuanian, Russian, English, and Chinese. And you probably had no clue what the hell I was trying to say. If you try to study multiple people, you'll read a lot of different books from a lot of different authors. That's exactly the kind of feeling that you will get. First, what you want to do is you just want to learn the basic fundamentals of what you need to do to just make $10,000 a month. Ideally, you want to learn from someone who is already widely successful, or who is going to be clearly very successful in the future. Because if you just learn from someone who's, let's say, just making $10,000 a month, and they just teach you how to make $10,000 a month, well, maybe let's say you learn how to do that with drop shipping or something, and then you realize, well, I don't want to be in drop shipping. I want to be an investor. Let's say you want to be an investor eventually. So if you just learn drop shipping, that doesn't have all that much to do with investing really. But if you learn from someone who is a lot more successful, maybe they will tell you or recommend a different path where, let's say, how about you learn basic finance first? Maybe you need to go to school for that, because you may want to learn from a big investor, let's say Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio. You work at one of these firms, maybe you build up your experience, and then you make a lot of money doing that, and then you invest that money instead of wasting your time dropshipping where you're not learning anything about investing. Because let's say you spend 3 years doing dropshipping, that's 3 years that you just wasted building a skill that you will never ever use in the future ever again. Whereas let's say you start as a janitor at one of these investment firms, you just intern, maybe you clean stuff, and you overhear people talking about DCFs, reverse DCFs. What is that? Maybe you ask a few questions. You ask, how do I learn about investing? You build on top of your basic foundation, and you never really lose that foundation. If you choose the wrong direction in your life, I mean, you will be maybe okay, but you'll just not be as rich as you possibly could have. So if you can, you want to pick a direction where you know you will stick with it, and a direction where you will be able to build on top of in the future relatively easily. For example, if somehow you got into advertising a decade and a half ago and you were in TV advertising, if you just focused on that and you ignored what was coming, for example, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all of the influencer marketing, maybe now you're not that successful. But if you didn't necessarily specialize in TV ads, but just overall how do I make the best ad? What makes the best ad overall? What's the psychology behind the ad? If you specialize in terms of how do you make the best possible ad, then it doesn't matter what's the platform. You can do a TV ad, you can do an Instagram ad, you can do a YouTube ad, doesn't matter. So when you focus on something, when you work on something, make sure that you work on it in a way where you can easily transfer your skills away from whatever you're doing right now to whatever you're going to do in the future. Now, sometimes it does make sense to specialize to a point where, yeah, this thing will probably go away, but if you're making a lot of money while you're doing it, that's fine. But if you have a choice between, okay, you're going to make a little bit more money right now, but it might be not a very long-term thing, choose the thing that will make you maybe a bit less, but the thing that you know will stay around here for a long time. When you pick what you finally want to do, you will want to invest as much as you possibly can into your skills. It will widely depend on what you're doing, but invest $10,000 to $100,000 per skill maybe. Now, $100,000 is going to be a little bit of an overkill, but overall, in whatever you decide to do, one of the fastest ways to actually make a lot of money is to invest as much as you possibly can into learning everything about that thing. Let's say you want to be an actor, okay? Buy online classes, buy acting classes. That's all fine. But if you already saved some money, let's say you have $50,000 in the bank, and you're wondering, okay, what should I do next? Well, if you find a somewhat maybe well-known actor who can teach you one-on-one, and you pay that person $10,000 for 2 hours maybe, that could actually be incredibly valuable. But also, you just made an important connection. With one of my first businesses, I actually paid one guy, and it was a bit unbelievable when he agreed to it, but I was not even 18 yet. And I was like, I really want to do this, and I was already making some money. I paid him his hourly rate. He doesn't even do one-on-one consulting. I just asked him, how much? I want to speak to you for 1 hour. And he told me how much. It was only $500, but that actually turned into a business that made so much more. That was money extremely well spent. If you can find the top person to teach you in your industry and you can pay them $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 for an hour or a few hours of their time, it's a good hack. Sometimes, and perhaps often, it will be things that will be somewhat obvious, but you're not going to be doing them. And the moment you start doing them, all of a sudden, you will start making 20% more money, 50% more money, maybe even double relatively soon. And sometimes it's just simple ideas that you just haven't thought of yet, and you can't read about them in any book or watch any video. So if you're serious about getting rich and you haven't spent $100,000 just learning, before you invest anything in the stock market or anything like that, you just invest in yourself. And especially the first $10,000, that's where you get an insane return, really. Okay, this one is really important. If you stagnated for 1 to 3 months and you feel like you haven't really made any tangible progress, you want to freak the hell out. You can't just keep on doing the same thing that you have been doing until now and expect different results. You need to change something. Think of a new angle. If you have a job, ask people around, what can you do? Or talk to your boss, to your manager. Can you get a promotion? How can you work better? Ask around. If it's your own business, then you have to sit down and brainstorm for maybe a day, maybe take the whole day off, the whole weekend, maybe even the whole week. Think of new ways to do business. Look at your competitors. Look at what they're doing. See if you can try to change something. Something has to be changed. If you're working extremely hard and you're really focused and it's not improving within 3 months, unless you're already making the money that you want to make, something has to change. And really, for myself, I freak out in about a month. Now, some businesses are different. If you're in construction, okay, it's going to take a bit more time than that. But for the most part, 1 to 3 months, that's usually the timeline. Every single day, you want to be aiming to improve yourself. Whatever it is, always you want to be aiming to improve yourself. And if you stagnated and you can't get through this plateau, then you don't want to just look for an improvement. You want to reinvent yourself. You want to rethink what you're doing. You want to rethink everything, really. This thing keeps so many people poor. Especially if you are a business owner, this one kills so many businesses. So many more businesses would be so much more successful if the owner or the founder or whoever runs the business did not have some huge disaster happening to them once every 3 months, 6 months, once every year. Now, I understand, let's say someone passes away, maybe an important member of your family, and you need to mourn. I get it. I understand it. Mourn as much as you need. But if just little things come up, and they happen once every month, once every 3 months, where you need to take a whole week off, you slow down for a whole week, 2 weeks, when you need to get your momentum back, and then instead of losing just a few days, you end up losing weeks and maybe even months of progress because your competitors, they are getting ahead. How much do your competitors work? That's how much you need to work just to keep up. And hours beyond that will produce extremely fast results because if, let's say, everyone is working 40 hours a week. All right, so if you want to be average in whatever you do, that's how much you want to work roughly. Now, if you put extra time on top of that, that's where you make progress. If you don't put extra hours on top of that, you basically are never going to be making serious progress fast. And if you do the opposite, where you don't even put in the minimum amount of hours expected, then you are going to be losing progress quickly. So that's where start and stops really come in. If you're going to have an emotional crisis or burnout or whatever it is, keep it short. Make it short. You don't want to stop. You don't want to lose momentum. You want to keep going. I know this one guy, and he's really smart and everything, but he gets drunk, like really drunk, once every 3 months. And once every year, it's really bad where he just disappears from his company for multiple weeks at a time. Who wants to work for him? Well, surprisingly many people. But he could be so much more successful if all he did was just get his stuff together and just stayed consistent. But I understand there's going to be family issues, family drama. You're going to get into a car accident. You're going to be emotionally, it's going to be you're going to be in a weird place. Something's going to happen. Someone's going to annoy you. You might lose your temper. Something may happen. Whatever happens, you just want to get back to work very quickly. You want to minimize the time where you are emotionally really affected in a bad way. And even if you feel terrible, you still go to work. Just go to work. Just keep on going. Once you are rich, okay, take off as much time as you need. But before then, get to work. By the way, I like in a lot of books or videos, TikToks, YouTube shorts, sometimes you hear people say, oh, having a good job is just being just over broke. Having a job is fine. You're basically getting paid to learn. That's fine. Most people actually should have a job. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a job. You don't have to start a business. In fact, most people make less money when they start a business overall. These are called non-employers in the US, people that have no employees but have a business. You can make a lot of money doing a job, especially if you bring in revenue, and especially if you can share profits eventually with your boss. That's where you can make a lot of money, and it's just much easier that way too, and very little risk. This is going to upset some people, but passive income is mostly a lie. So get to work. Now, what do I mean by that? Then I was, 12. My idea of getting rich was, okay, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to build systems. And then that business is going to make, let's say, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a month, every single month. I'm going to build it. I'm going to build systems, and it's going to keep making that money forever for the rest of my life. That was my idea of passive income. That's complete BS. And actually, I ended up building a business that was making about 10,000 a month passively, supposedly, because my idea of that was, I didn't do any work almost for 4 months now, 6 months now. On that particular business, I remember there was a very popular book at that time by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. I had the 4-hour work month. Basically, I was like, this is the dream. This is awesome. This is amazing. Until that business started slowing down. It was no longer passive. If I wanted to fix my business, I had to pay attention to that business. But I decided to just move on to the next thing that could actually make me a lot more money, because that business had a particular ceiling, and it was very difficult for it to ever make more than 10,000 a month. So I was like, whatever, that business is just going to die over time. And at that time, I realized there's no such thing as passive income. What you have is, when you build a business like that, you simply, instead of getting paid immediately, let's say $1 million all at once, you just get paid 10,000 a month for the next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. There's really only one thing that I found to be truly passive. And That's not even real estate. I own real estate. I have commercial real estate and residential real estate. Commercial real estate is a lot more work. Residential, it's a lot less work. That's almost passive, I would say, but not really truly. For example, I have this one property, and 3 months ago, there was a leak from the neighbor. So then I was, is insurance going to cover? Do I need to go in there? Do I just send someone in there? What's going to happen? It occupied my mind. It took my mind away from things that are actually making money, that are productive. That's not what you want to do. One of the worst things actually that you can do when you are starting out, once you make a little bit of money, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, oh, I'm going to buy real estate now. You're going to waste so much time, because you could just be spending all your time on the thing that's making you money, and you will end up making actually more money than whatever money you're going to put in real estate, hoping it's going to go up, and probably it's going to go up. But the time that you will take finding a good deal, dealing with all the tenants and all that stuff, is going to cost you opportunities. It's going to be invisible. Also, it will cause you headaches and everything. The only thing that I have found to be truly passive is investing in stocks. So if you own securities, that's as close as you can possibly get to pretty much passive income. So you just get dividends. You don't really need to do anything. The only thing you need to do is just make sure, okay, that you invested in the right ones. So I personally like, this is not financial advice, but this is what I like for myself. I like S&P 500. Of course, right now in my stock portfolio, I don't have any of that. I just have Tesla stock. And that requires a lot of time actually, because I'm looking at Tesla every single day, making sure that everything is all right, that nothing changes, because I have a lot of money in Tesla stock. I'm planning to keep Tesla stock for the next 10 years and possibly more. But if tomorrow something super crazy happened there, let's say multiple hurricanes and typhoons and earthquakes happened around every Tesla factory in the world, and Elon Musk happened to be in there, and all of the most important Tesla executives were in these locations as well, and they all pass away all immediately, and all the factories just disappear immediately, then I would probably sell my Tesla stock. I think that's not going to happen, is what I think. But when you have a lot of money in just one thing, then you worry about even little things like that. So if you want to retire and you don't want to work, then if you truly don't want to work, then I would invest in securities basically. If you don't mind some work, real estate is fine. And even if you save up some money, let's say 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and you want to invest that into real estate, if you want to become a real estate investor in the long term, that's totally fine. But if you don't want to be a serious real estate investor, a professional, then I would forget about it. It's just too much work. And even if it supposedly isn't all that much work, it's on your mind, you think about it, you worry about it, you want to spend all that time working on the thing that is your main career. That is going to be the most valuable thing for you long term in terms of how much money you will make. Unless you are already super rich and just making an extra % per year in terms of your returns from your investments is going to make a huge difference. Okay, then you want to shift your focus from doing whatever you're doing to being an investor basically. Okay, this next one is so important. Really, each thing that I'm teaching you, each next thing is the most important thing, because if you don't understand, if you're missing one of them, you're going to have it's going to be so much harder to make money. But you will have terrible luck. That's inevitable. It will just happen. But also you will have fantastic luck. And the fantastic luck part, people don't understand, but it's just math. I have a random number generator here. And let's assume that for you to get an extremely good opportunity, it needs to be a 95 or higher. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to generate. Okay, so you just had terrible luck. Maybe you just got fired. Maybe your company lost a big client and people are being laid off, and maybe your paycheck got reduced. Terrible luck. Bad. 23. Oh, more terrible luck. Maybe you got a flat tire and now you were late for an important meeting and it cost you. I just rolled a 4. You are having some seriously terrible luck here with making a lot of money. Now 47, okay, everything is normal, nothing special. 23, wow, you just keep having bad luck. This is terrible. 13 again, wow, this is terrible. 99, oh my God, you just got a promotion. You just got a client that could give you a big check, and that is going to change the whole life, really, of yours, if you have the skills to take advantage of it. But the question is, do you have the skills? Did you work on your skills? Or did you not? Because if you didn't, then you can't take advantage of this opportunity. Do you understand? Let's keep rolling. 5. Wow. Or maybe you lost that client, but if you were skilled enough, you retained that client. You just have another big crisis that you have to deal with right now. 12. This is terrible. This feels like it's rigged. 58. Okay, that's fine. 43. Not great. 86. Pretty good. You had a pretty good day. 9. Wow. Terrible. 45. All right. 57. 45. 24. Terrible. 88. Pretty good. 32. 96. You have another huge opportunity, but do you have the skill to take advantage of it? You just met someone really rich and they offered to partner with you, maybe start a new company. Maybe you got a big promotion. Maybe you got an opportunity to move to another city to get this job. But can you keep that job? Are you skilled enough? You got this offer, but can you execute it? Are you skilled enough? That's why I say you have to learn first. You have to invest in yourself. And then these opportunities will come to you. You will have some terrible luck, like what you have just seen. And it seems like it's really rigged one day. But I promise you, if you just keep rolling this dice, eventually you will have as many 100s as you will have ones. And right now it seems like the numbers just got overall quite a bit better. See, 98 overall, and then you have a 9, an 8. So this is how life works. Basically, you have to understand that luck is not real luck. It's just math. If you just keep going at it, you will get lucky. But if you don't have the skills, if you don't have the work ethic, for example, if you haven't built yourself up, then you will not even know that you just got a 99 out of 100. I have found for myself, I get a crazy opportunity once every roughly 3 to 7 years is what I have found to be roughly generally true. I'm talking about life-changing opportunities, and then once every year, there's a pretty big opportunity. Like I mentioned in the very beginning, there are hundreds of things that I wrote down earlier that are crucial really to me to make a crazy amount of money. But I don't have 3 days to teach you. So I'm going to leave you with one that will solve all of your problems really that I haven't addressed yet. And that is, if you can find a coach or a mentor or a teacher or whoever is in your industry that can show you how to do stuff, you want to pick a teacher that you cannot afford, or a teacher that you can barely afford, because a better teacher, a better coach, a better mentor will save you so much time. Don't just pick the cheapest one. Don't do that. My first mentor, Dan, he told me, and this made me a lot of money. He told me, Matt, hire lawyers and accountants that you can't afford. I'm telling you, you want to pick a teacher that you can barely afford. I dare you to implement this and all of these other previous things, and I dare you to do that and not make a lot of money. But like I said, there are a few hundred more things that are very important for making money. So because I can't share all of these here with you, because if you don't have multiple days, you will want to pick the best teacher that you can possibly find. I personally started learning about business when I was 12, and I started my first business then I was 13. I wish I would have had this video when I first started. That would have saved me so much time. So hopefully there's at least one of you who's perhaps just getting started. And by the way, you can be 60 and you're just getting started, 50 and you're just getting started, 40 and you're just getting started. It's about making that commitment. Okay, I want to do this. I want to make a lot of money. What do I need to do? It still means you're just getting started. That's okay. It's just the difference is I made that decision when I was 12, basically. If you want to get rich and you think, oh, these were just basic things. If you're not rich, it's because you think these are just basic things. And like I said in the very beginning of this video, it's all about the only reason why you're not making the money that you want to make is because you don't know something. And if you think that these are basic things and these are not important things, well, you don't know that these are important things, and therefore you're not doing them. You don't know. The moment you accept that you're not rich because you don't know something, everything changes. It just gets so much easier because you know what you need to do. You need to learn. And sometimes, occasionally, of course, you need some time for all the results to show up. In some cases, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, maybe if you want to be a doctor because you have to go through all the med school and everything. So it depends on the situation, but generally that's the only reason why you're not making money is because you don't know what to do or you don't know how to do it. By the way, today I'm fairly sick. I had a pretty bad fever, so that's why no video about a Tesla stock today. This video I recorded in early September. Tomorrow I will probably be back with a Tesla video. My name is Matt Posius, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.